are live.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Gathering ParaChat. My name is Heidi.
I'm Stephanie, and we are gathered around the metaphysical tonight with one of our most favorite authors and friend, Wendy Webb.
I'm so happy to be here, you
Yay! So, yes, we're gathered around the metaphysical table, which is actually a little bigger tonight.
It is.
So we're not spooning.
Yeah.
Like
I mean,
we
you know,
were
we
last
do,
week.
we do that too, but
Not that we find.
maybe not tonight. Yeah, no, not.
There's a little bit of room to spread out here. So, yeah, so we're excited to be back for our second video show.
Yes. Oh my gosh. This crazy talk. We're still getting used to looking there instead of here.
We were just talking about how Stephanie and I have done radio for so long, and we're remote a lot, especially
Yes.
since COVID, that
Yes.
we look at each other through the video.
Yes.
So we're so used to looking at our computers that
Yeah.
we have to break that habit.
Yeah, we do. So we'll have to look at the camera and try to figure it out. But anyway, oh my
But
gosh.
now it's Wendy Webb Wednesday,
It is Wendy Webb Wednesday.
so that's super exciting.
Yes,
Very
yes.
excited about
Oh my
that.
gosh. And so
And
awesome stuff.
Windy Wednesday too.
Wendy, it is a windy Wednesday.
It is, very much.
It's so windy outside and cold. So anyway, we're tucked in here at the My Spirit Experience
And we're all
studio.
cozy and it's
Cozy.
awesome.
Yeah, it's all good.
It is good. And it's the holiday season, so there's all kinds of crazy stuff going on, and you know, people are running back and forth, and
Yeah, kind of. Well, it depends. I think some
not
people
me this
have,
year. I don't know why, but
That's
it's
what I was
like,
gonna say. I think
oh,
some people might have a lot going on, and some
Yeah.
people are just
yeah.
kind of sliding the
I
slow
agree.
roll into the new year.
Yeah,
You
and I
know?
tell you what, it's super cold here in the land of 10,000 days. Just say it's like below zero.
I love it. I'm so happy. I was standing outside with my no jacket on. I was like, I'm so hot. I'm so warm all the time.
And we're hoping for a little snow before Christmas. But,
No.
oh yeah, snow season.
Oh, yeah.
Snow. I do want snow too. Yeah. Got it.
I don't want to drive it. That's it's fine. Whatever.
Okay.
Just the snow when I'm not driving. But no, I don't mind the cold. It's nice. Oh,
Yeah.
so nice.
Yeah, for sure.
For me, because I'm now an Alaskan Malamute. that's my new. I am a snow dog. That's
Love it.
I guess. I
And then
don't know.
there's me. I'm a frozen chick from the girl.
Hey, you know we're gonna pull a card
We
before
are.
we get started with Wendy because we have so many things
We
to talk to you about.
Yeah.
So this week I am going to use, and anybody that wants to go into the chat, let us and say hi or questions or whatever. We're monitoring the chat room, so just hop in and ask questions, and we can answer those as we go. But every week, what we want to do is pull a card to kind of kick off the show, and this might, flow with your vibe this week or give you something to think about or whatever. I have a deck that I've recently acquired from a series that is not new to me, but this is called Seasons of the Witch. This is the deck that I'm going to use for the next few weeks because we're going to use this while we're in the season of Yule. And this is a very cool deck. There are 8 of them, as far as I know at this point, which makes sense because there are 8 festivals. There are the quarter festivals, which we're almost at Yule. That's one of them.
Yeah.
And we have the opposite festival, which will be midsummer. And then you have the 2 equinoxes, which are Beltane,
Vernal. Isn't the Vernal spring one?
spring is, oh my God. why is
Well,
it leaving
anyway,
my
the
head?
spring equinox
the
is fall.
2 equinoxes, right. And then you have the cross-quarter festivals, which are Beltane
Yes.
and Lunasa and
Yes.
Samhain. So
Yeah.
anyway, I'm going to use the Seasons of the Witch. This is the Yule deck.
Yep.
And this is by, I'm going to tell you who this is by, Lorraine Anderson and Juliet Diaz, and illustrated by Giada Rose. And it's a very cool deck. Here's what it looks like if you guys can see it out there. And I just got the Yule one not that long ago, so I haven't really worked with it. I have the Samhain, which, of course, I think that was actually gifted to me, and that's how I was introduced to this series. But it's super cool.
It's beautiful.
And yeah,
appropriate.
it is
Absolutely.
appropriate. And I love that it is inclusive
Yep.
as well, which that's one of my things now. I don't I find myself not working so much with decks that are not inclusive anymore. Because I just don't think, I think there's so many options out there for
Mhm.
decks to be inclusive that I would rather just work with those. So this is,
And this is beautiful. Look at it.
you look at the,
Green and the outside.
yeah, the metallic
And
green.
so Yule happens, which is winter solstice, and that's like a couple weeks from this weekend, actually. Like 21st.
21st. Yeah. I think that's the first full day, is the 21st, right? First full day, it happens somewhere in the 20, I think it
Yeah.
depends too, maybe on the year, but anyway, so we're in, it'll be Yule coming up, and granted, it's a season, so we're leaning into it already. And then we'll have, the Yule proper, and then we'll be kind of leaning out of it as we go. But every, 8 times a year, there's a festival, and Yule is the next one. So I'm going to shuffle. Wendy, you're our guest tonight. Why don't you say when to stop, and then I'll pick the top card, whenever that is. So,
Stop.
okay, so here's the top card. Do you want to read what it is?
Offerings.
You want to read that?
Yes, I give to you my heart's intent, wrapped in gratitude and thankfulness. Devotion in exchange for your presence. Here I am, gifting my essence.
No.
That's beautiful.
Well, that's so perfect for this time of year.
What
Yeah.
does it look like? Oh, isn't that nice? It almost looks like it's a birthday cake.
Kind of looks like it. With like meringue or something. on
Oh,
it.
that's lovely.
Do you want to hold it up so our
Oh, yes.
watchers can see it?
I don't know, can you see it from here? So, yes, that's very cool.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yay!
So that is so pretty. Thank you for reading that. By the
Oh,
way.
yeah.
And I'm going to read a little bit from the book here. Oh, do you want to read from the book?
Sure.
All right. Since you're our author, writer.
So this says, do you finish what you start? Do you show your commitment through devotion to your craft and self-mastery? Offerings are an essential part of magic. They show your willingness to commit to your art through sacrificing something, such as your time, money, or an idea you've held on to. All worthwhile things will require an offering of you. Perhaps to change careers, you need to take classes to receive a certification. This is an offering of time and money. This is really meaningful here.
Isn't it nice?
Time and money, and may mean sacrificing your social life or time at home. To move to an exotic place will mean saying goodbye to your loved ones in favor of new experiences and adventures. Whatever you give up will be replaced by something bigger and more aligned with your soul. Offerings remind you that you cannot take shortcuts on the journey to your desires. You must be willing to put in the work and do what is required of you to manifest your dreams. Remember, a novice never becomes a master overnight. Stay the course and learn your craft. The message is amplified for you if forest has appeared in your spread.
Oh, there must be a forest card.
There must be a forest card.
We don't have the forest card out because we're just doing one, but
So that's this. And the keywords are devotion, exchange, and balance.
ooh,
I like
Neat.
that.
that's great.
That is
Yeah.
so good for
And that really means something to me. That speaks to me for sure.
Can you speak into it a little bit, or
Well,
you don't have to? I don't want to put you on the spot. either.
no, I'm continuing a new project. That's really exciting. And I'm really excited about it. But this is going to take a lot of work. It took up most of my day today. And this is not easy. And it's kind of the same thing that I said about getting a book published, my first book published way back in 2010. It's hard. It can be a long slog. And you do give up a lot of your heart and soul when you're creating something. But then when you're just trying to get it out there, that's, a giving time too. And that's exactly what I'm in now. So thank you for that card.
Oh,
That says something to me for
that's
sure.
awesome.
Oh, that's great.
That is.
Yeah, that is that's a good card for this time of year too.
It is. I
Anyway,
think everybody can, you know, that card resonates.
and I'm thinking that it was maybe because you said when.
Yeah.
Is why it's so
It's
powerful for
meaningful
you.
for me.
Yeah. Well, that's great. I love it. So we'll use this deck for the next couple of
Yeah.
weeks, I think, because
think
it
so,
fits
too.
with the season. So
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I like it, for sure. Good choice.
well, thank you to the folks that made
Yes.
this. I love getting new decks. I absolutely love. This is an Oracle deck, but I really love tarot decks too. And so I love just getting new decks and seeing what they're all about. And I love to highlight and
Mhm.
celebrate people that make these creators, and encourage people to support them if you are so inclined, because it is a lot of work to put your heart and soul into
Yes.
something like this.
Oh,
And
absolutely.
and I am happy to celebrate these decks while we do the show. So thank you to these creative, lovely people that made this deck. And all right, that's what we got.
Here we go. So for the Oracle card reading.
There it is.
Oh my gosh. Well, Wendy, I think a lot of people may be tuning in that have not heard from you before, because we're in Cryptovania now, which is a totally different.
That's right.
Yes.
Hi, everybody.
So Wendy has written how many books now?
9. Well,
Nine.
9.5. Now
Yeah.
I'm halfway through number 10.
Ooh, exciting.
Oh.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And when is that one coming out?
I'm not sure. I have to finish it first, and then they'll
Yeah.
give me a launch day.
But this is her latest one. This is The Witches of Santo Stefano. Fabulous. Looking for a good read this holiday season. Pick it up.
Mm-hmm.
It's phenomenal, as are all of her books. I've read them all.
Me too.
Thank you.
But as usual, what I'm going to say is Daughters of the Lake is still my favorite. Still my favorite. And I know a lot of your books, take place in the mythical town of Warden on
Mhm.
Lake Superior,
Yes.
which is a whole entity in herself, But a lot of the things, how has the Minnesota connection and the history and the Gothic influenced you lately?
Well, it can't be overstated. I grew up here in Minnesota, kind of steeped in the lore and legend of Lake Superior, and I lived in Duluth, Minnesota, which is a beautiful port city on Lake Superior. And when you live there, next to that lake for so long, you just get infused with the lore and the legend. And if any of the viewers, now we can say viewers, not just listeners, are wondering about it, people still to this day, now they might not say it out loud, but they believe that lake is alive.
Oh, yeah.
And
For
it
sure.
has moods. It is moody.
Mhm.
You can go out on a boat in a beautiful day, and on a dime the weather will change and you'll be in danger.
Yeah.
Lake's mad at you.
Yeah.
And people really feel that. And I really took that in when I lived up there. And there are a couple of neat stories about that. I told one of these on your radio show, but just a quick one. There's a family that lived on Lake Superior, and they had a canoe. And during a storm one year, that canoe went missing. 20 years passed. Then there was another big storm, and what washes up onto their beach? That same canoe. Honest to God, the husband was interviewed on the news. And he said, yeah, I guess the lake was done with it.
Right.
So
Right.
it was like the
Right.
lake took it for a purpose
Mhm.
and then just gave it back.
Mhm.
And that really, and there's another quick one that's kind of funny, but there was a guy, a professional swimmer, who was trying to swim across all the Great Lakes. He couldn't get across Lake Superior. Again on the news, this guy's interviewed, and he said, I don't know why I can't get across Lake Superior. And why do they call it Superior anyway? Is it really superior to all the other lakes?
Oh, my.
And I can't tell you how many people I heard say, good luck trying to get across it now.
Never.
Mhm.
Like, you diss the lake, you are not going to get across.
Massively insult the lake
Yeah.
and then see what happens.
And then see what happens.
Yeah.
And as far as I know, he never did get across. So that's kind of the underpinning for all my books.
Mhm.
They're steeped in that lore and legend and magic that comes with that big lake.
Oh, and we love it, don't we? I mean, we all know this. Now, I'm just going to read a couple of paragraphs, and it's right at the beginning of Daughters of the Lake, because it talks about Lake Superior and all the things that we've heard about for a long time living on the shores of Lake Superior in Minnesota. So this is the first part of Daughters of the Lake, and my favorite of all her books, and I love them all, don't get me wrong. And I don't know if it was because this book was the very first one I read, and I stayed up all night long reading it because I couldn't put it down.
It was a worldwide bestseller.
Yes, absolutely. And
That's
now it's in
right.
Italian.
That's
Now
a
it's in
good.
Italian.
No, you go ahead and bring it up.
Yes, I would
That's good.
absolutely. Okay, here we go. It was finally time for the lake to give her up. And so, one morning in late summer, her body washed gently into the shallows, as though she had simply been floating in a peaceful, watery slumber. She was wearing a white gown, a long, billowing, delicate thing, still tied with a bow at the neck, the sort of garment one might imagine wealthy women of the past wearing to bed. A tangle of auburn hair cascaded around her face. She was smiling slightly, and her startling violet-colored eyes were open just a bit, as if waking from a dream. One arm was concealed beneath the folds of her gown, the other stretched out onto the beach, her hand grasping at the sand as if she were trying to pull herself ashore. Her appearance was all the more remarkable since she had died nearly a century earlier. Yes, yes. And then there's more. Basically, the lake was bringing her back, which is what we just talked about with the canoe.
Yeah.
So, okay, everybody run out and buy this book now and read it because it's fabulous. If that doesn't get your attention, I don't know what. But because we hear about those things happening,
We do.
I remember a couple of decades ago hearing about an indigenous woman who had been found really close to Duluth. Her body was from like the 1700s, right? And they found her on the shore, and it looked like she had just passed away because the lake is so cold.
The lake is so cold. A lot of people don't know that if they don't live here. But you can't swim in Lake Superior. It can be 95 degrees. You can't swim in that lake. There's a couple of beaches, one on Madeline Island, just across from Bayfield, where it's cold, but you can get in without wishing to die.
Yeah,
And it's not until like August or September,
right.
because you need that whole summer to warm
Yes.
up just those little pieces that are close to the shore and are really shallow. Like they barely get warm enough to not lose your breath.
Yeah, exactly.
So
And so the lake does preserve bodies. There are a lot of shipwrecks on the lake. I'm specifically thinking about the Edmund Fitzgerald, which a lot of you may know.
Yes.
There are a lot of divers that go down on Lake Superior because it's so clear. It's illegal to dive there because it's a grave site.
As it should be.
And those guys are still there.
Yes. And they look like they did all those years ago. Right? And the song of the Edmund Fitzgerald talks about Lake Superior singing in her ice water mansion.
Yeah.
So just imagine, she's a witch herself. She is quite the spirit, and she demands respect, for sure.
Absolutely. So that's sort of what Daughters of the Lake is about. So this body washes up on shore. This is present day now. And so there's a dead body. The police are called. They think it's a current murder.
Mm-hmm.
The only person who knows it's not, though, is a woman who has been dreaming about this body, this woman. And she sees snippets of her life, and she knows it's in the past.
Yeah.
And so now she is plunged into this mystery. It's like, well, who is this woman? Why was I dreaming about her?
Yeah.
How come she washed up on my beach? Thank you very much. And how am I going to find out?
Mm-hmm.
That is the story of Daughters of the Lake.
Yeah. And it's so good. And it's just, seamless. Like it'll be about Kate and her dreams, and then the next thing we're 100 years ago, and it's her ancestor, and what happened to her, and it's just, and the whole relationship with the lake, how they would swim in the lake, and it was never cold for them because the spirit was within them, because they were a daughter of the lake. And without giving too much away, you just really need to read the book. Because it's phenomenal. And last summer we actually all went with Wendy up to Bayfield, Wisconsin, which is the fictional film board.
Mm-hmm.
That's
where I set all of my books. And it is based on Bayfield, Wisconsin. Not loosely based, it is Bayfield. I call it Wharton just because, some of the things I write about are kind of dark.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to inadvertently get something right about a real family up there. Like, oh yeah, that's the Johnsons, we know. And so that's why I changed the name of it. But everybody knows it's Bayfield. And their tourism has increased.
Yes.
Not that they needed it, because they're a beautiful tourist town.
Yes.
But people go there to see the locations.
Yep.
So I set each book in a different location, a different magnificent, beautiful home there.
Mm-hmm. And it's cool because when we went there, I had never been to Bayfield before.
No,
I felt like I had been there before.
Oh, absolutely.
Just from reading your books.
It was
I'm
just,
like,
well, and we stayed at Grumpy's, which
Yes.
is really lands. And the Haunting of Fred Wilder, which, by the way, is one of the local favorites up there. There's the new favorite. But it was just such a fun time. And, we all jokingly laughed, but we thought there should be a Wendy Webb Day next summer there.
Yeah, we're talking about something like that,
Yeah.
doing a tour. I could lead a tour of the locations or just some such thing and have a big reading. So I'm talking to the bookstore and a couple of the hotels up there.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah,
Good.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I
Yeah.
bet that will be a sellout.
Oh, for sure.
I think so.
Yeah.
People come. And I'm so grateful.
Absolutely.
Even now, after, all the books I've sold and bestseller list here and there, award winning, it still boggles my mind that people other than my family are reading these books. And it's a gift.
Oh, and people love, people at the bookstore love you up there. We were there, and hopefully we'll get back there again with you this summer,
That would be so much fun.
They wanted us to do the show at the bookstore, so that would be awesome.
That would be awesome.
We did
Especially now with the video. So
Exactly.
That'd be so cool so they could see, a little
Absolutely.
bit of this. Maybe we can do some
Yes.
little films of, different places that we can film from that up there.
Yeah.
And I participated in my first seance there.
Yes.
And I was freaked out.
She
I was
was.
a little freaked out. I might write about this for a living, but I've never talked to a ghost before. And it happened.
They showed up.
They did.
Mhm.
It was pretty wild.
Yeah,
It was
did.
pretty
It was
wild.
good.
It was fun. And we stayed there. So you stayed at a different place, but
I did.
Heidi and I and Katie stayed in the same room that you did when you wrote
The
or it
Haunting
was
of
based
Wilder.
on the
Yeah.
Haunting of Wilder. And it was like we'd been there a million times, right? Because
Yeah.
we read it. I've read it a couple times.
Yep.
Well, it was emotional for me too, because I hadn't been in that room since.
Yeah.
And when I walked in there,
You were emotional.
I was
I know,
so
you were all
emotional.
choked up.
It is, going back to this card, but it was just a feeling of complete gratitude. I just felt like I had to thank I'm going to get emotional now.
Oh, yeah. That's
Um,
okay.
I felt like I had to thank that space for inspiring whatever it is within me that comes out onto the page. And it's always a place that inspires.
That was fun. Awesome time. We look forward to doing it all over again next summer.
Yeah. Okay, we've got some other questions, and I want to make sure if there's anybody in the chat room
Yeah.
too, if anybody has questions for any of this,
Mhm.
for Wendy or anything else, pop them into the chat and we can get to them here during the show. But I don't think we have any questions yet, but we've got some folks in the chat room, so hello to everybody that's in the chat room.
Moody ladies from the Midwest. Are we moody ladies from the Midwest?
Is that us? Oh,
Hey.
I don't know. That's what they're asking.
well, I'm fine with that.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
I'll own that. That's fine.
Maybe, but yeah.
So you have some other questions that you brought that were given to us.
Right.
As well.
By our producer.
Yeah, he had some good questions, so we wanted to get to those as well.
He did. All right. So one of the
We
other
got the first
questions, yes. What is your creative process now when you write a book?
My creative process, when you talk to a lot of authors, and I know a lot of them now, it's weird. You get a book published and bam, you just know a lot of authors. They fall into two camps. One camp is the people who plot out their books meticulously. And the other camp is you open up that computer and start writing.
Yeah.
So which camp do you think I fall into?
Open up the computer and start writing. Because that's what I would do too.
I do. I try to outline a book. I don't know if any of your viewers are familiar with William Kent Kruger, but he's a New York Times best-selling huge author. And he and I are pals, and he outlines his books pretty carefully. And I just know why. I said, why do you want to do that? Why do you want to know? And he said, because then I can just focus on the beauty of the writing. And I thought, oh, that's cool. And so I tried to do that. No. If I knew the plot, I was not interested in filling it in.
Oh.
It's like, well,
that would be a big deal.
Yeah, it's like, oh, well, okay, it's going here, and then it's going there, and that person ends up dead, and there's a ghost in the closet here, and it just didn't work. So I threw that away.
Yeah.
And what inspires me is more often than not the place, a house, even a tree. It can just be anything, and it just hits something. It captures something. And then I start thinking, I wonder what could have happened in that place. Like a good story that I tell is, my second book was called The Fate of Mercy Alba. And I got the idea for that book because I took a tour of a beautiful grand home in Duluth, Minnesota. It's called Glen Sheen. And I was on the tour, and I wandered out onto the veranda. And if you've been there, you know it's this gorgeous patio overlooking a gorgeous garden, and the lake is shimmering in the distance. It's so beautiful. And I thought, oh, what a beautiful place for a summer party. And I could almost see the party. People dressed up in their little summer suits. And then I thought, what if somebody winds up dead at that time?
Yeah.
And that was it. That was all I had, and I
started. Yeah. Yeah.
So that's really how it goes. And I write from beginning to end. I know some writers who like plot out scenes and then they'll write the scene. No. I write a book like you read one.
Yes.
Yes. And I think that comes through.
To me.
Yeah.
Well, it's probably you're interested in it too. Then. As you, it's almost like you're reading it.
It is almost like I'm reading it. I want to know what happens.
Right.
I don't know what's going to happen in any given scene. And the magic of it, the beauty of it, is when I'm typing along and something just occurs. And I get so excited. It's like, oh, yes. And so I'm excited. And then I think you're excited.
Yeah,
absolutely. I think it translates.
Yeah,
so
for sure.
That's how it goes.
I also appreciate how your mind works. That a summer party on the veranda, people are dressed in like their little suits and whatever and then someone ends up dead. It's like sharp turn.
Sharp turn.
And here we go.
Right.
Love it.
Yeah. I mean, that was Temperance Dare was another really one of my faves.
I think you say that.
Twist turns. Oh, they're all really good.
I know.
Temperance, I think, is the scariest book
it is.
that I've written.
Freaky, man. I was like, oh my God.
If you all are looking for a scary book, that's the scariest one. And that's the one that I'm focusing on now because there's something
I
happening with that one.
heard this.
And it's been fun to get back into it and expand it a little bit and expand the world. And yeah, but it's creepy.
It is creepy.
It is.
Nothing wrong with that here.
No, we like the creep factor. Right. Oh, for sure. Now, you were a journalist before you were a novelist, and what was that transition like?
It was hard, actually. I've been writing for a living my whole career, and so I've always wanted to be an author. It's just like finding the time and finding the inspiration. Finally, I had it, and I found something really difficult. When you're a journalist, you tell a story. Here's what happened from beginning to end. In a novel, you are a storyteller, but you have to show. And I could not get that for the life of me. My agent would say, "Oh, you're telling here. You've got to show it." I'm like, "Oh, I'm a storyteller.
Right.
Why can't I tell? Why can't I just tell?" And she said, "No, that's boring. You don't want to tell. You want to show the reader."
Yes.
And I was grappling with this, and another author that I know told me the secret. The secret is when you're crafting a scene, pretend like you're the director of a movie. See everything. Where they're standing, what they're wearing, what the room looks like. You take in all of this stuff. And then you would just write that on the page and say they're having a conversation. One person gets angry. Well, in real life or in a movie, they're not going to go, "I'm angry."
Right.
They're going to stomp out of the room dramatically.
Yes.
And so you write, "John stomped out." And everybody knows John's angry. You don't have to say John is angry. That was the key.
Yeah.
And that really unlocked the whole shebang.
And now, do you have to think about it anymore?
No,
Okay, so it's just natural.
it's just natural.
Okay,
Yeah,
cool.
I think that would be a hard one.
it was.
Yeah.
It was because I'd spent my whole life writing a different way.
Yeah.
And then it twisted.
But you still do journal. You still do.
I do. I still write articles
Mhm.
from time to time. And it's kind of hard to switch back.
I was going to ask you, how do you do that? Like, how do you
Yeah,
go
I
back
think
and
it would
forth?
be really hard.
It is. But, they're two different worlds.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I'm writing a book, I'm just here in my world. And when I'm, writing an article for a newspaper, website, or whatever, then I'm, just telling that story.
Right.
So it's different.
Do you feel like the further into this you get, the easier it is to switch back and forth? You kind of like put on a different hat, you can just do it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Initially, it wasn't.
Okay.
When I got my first book published, I was the editor of a magazine. And I loved that job. That was such a great job. And it really lent itself well to me writing a book a year. Because frankly, it wasn't that hard. I loved it. And it was just a joy. And I had this great team. And we all loved each other. We just get together for happy hour all the time. It was just great. And it was a good situation. But then as I got it, when I wasn't, the magazine went away. And so I was freelancing and writing for a lot of different publications. And then it just became not so awesome. But, and that was the hard transition. It's like, oh boy, I'm writing this article for The Economist. And now I'm trying to write about ghosts. It was weird.
Yeah, that would be tough. Yeah, that's a big leap.
Yeah. Yeah,
Okay.
but it's all turned out great, and I'm just grateful for all of it.
Well, heck yeah. I mean, it's the path that got you to where you are now.
Yeah,
So that's
absolutely.
perfect.
So one of the questions here is, does the story come to you in a sentence at a time or in a paragraph? Well, I think you kind of just, that's kind of already been answered.
When I sit down to write, I will have a goal of, say, I want to write 1,000 words, or I want to write a chapter, or I want to write the main thing is to write a scene. So I'm not like stopping mid-scene,
Right.
but when I get going, it just comes on out. And I've written 7,000 words in a day. I've written 10,000 words in a day. That's a lot, but I just sit there, and there'll be times, it'll go from day to night, and I won't even register. It's like, oh, wow, it's dark outside.
Wow.
You're that in the zone.
Because 10,000 words, that's a lot.
It's a lot.
Yeah.
8 hours, I'll be sitting there.
And just in the zone.
And you can't move.
In the zone,
Yeah.
I know. And then it's like, oh, I better take a walk.
Yeah. Okay.
My dogs are like, hello.
I need to go.
Dogs are like, we can't write 10,000
Yeah,
words.
no,
I can't handle that.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Well, that's awesome. Yeah, 10,000 words. I've started doing some writing. And you said 10,000 words, and I'm like, sister,
Wow.
don't even tell me that. That's like,
That's not a usual day.
holy cow.
A usual day, 2,000-3,000 words. That feels good.
Mm-hmm.
That's still a good amount, though.
That's a good amount.
Oh, yeah.
Well, a page is about 250.
I was going to say, that's quite a few pages.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I can, I like to get a good flow going. And when I'm writing a book, I try to write every day. It doesn't always work out. But what I do is when I sit down, I read what I wrote the day before. So then I kind of get into the zone.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I end for the day, I just jot down a couple ideas. Like, oh, maybe he'll go to the store. Maybe, this person will show up.
So you're not starting cold turkey.
So I'm not starting cold turkey. So I have a little bit of inspiration to get going.
Well, it's inspiring just listening to your process.
Yeah.
Because writing is hard. I mean, personally, I've had to start doing some, and it's hard.
It is hard.
And I'm like, what?
See, for me, writing is a joy. And I know a lot of authors who say, oh, writing is so hard. I'm like, well, what are you making your living that way then?
Yeah, if you don't enjoy it, why are you doing it?
For me, I am just so grateful every time I get to sit down and tell a story and have people like that story. It's just the greatest thing.
Mm-hmm.
And it's fun and it's exciting and all the things, And I, thank goodness I can make a living at it. I don't have any other marketable skills. So
I think that's probably not true.
Yeah,
the one thing I'm good
Definitely
at,
not true.
and I found a way to make it work. So
Well, what I think is interesting too is you had mentioned we did that seance last summer, right? And it was your first experience interacting with spirit.
Yeah.
Yet that's the genre that you write.
Right.
yeah,
Right.
So is that strictly because of what you said before with I know the Lake Superior connection because you lived in Duluth and stuff, but there's a lot of things you can write about that aren't paranormal or spirit related.
right. Well, when I first got started, my agent said, think long and hard about the genre you want to write in. Because if your first book is really successful, which thank goodness it was, editors are going to want more of the same, and your readers are going to want more of the same. So I started thinking, what do I like to read? There weren't a lot of Gothic novels out there. And you can ask people who write them, what is a Gothic?
Yeah.
Everybody has their own opinion, but for me, it's a big old house. Maybe there's some spirits floating around causing a little trouble. There's a family mystery that bubbles to the surface at inconvenient times.
Yeah.
It's the thing I like to say. And maybe there's a little bit of a romance.
Yeah.
Just to kind of spice things up a little bit and keep them fun and interesting.
Mm-hmm.
So and then for me, it's always a heroine that she might not believe she's capable right out of the bat, but she is.
Yes.
So there's strong women. Nobody's going to be running screaming, save me, save me. No.
It's just not what we do here. Yeah.
So and I've always been interested in the paranormal. I've always been interested in ghosts, and whereas some people are afraid of that, and certainly there are things to be afraid about, but I find it hopeful.
Yeah.
It's like if there's, like when we did the seance in Bayfield, the word was, it was the former owner of this establishment. I got a text from her grandson and said, I hear you met my grandmother during a seance.
Oh, we did.
And I said, yes. And he said, yeah, for sure, that's her.
Oh, that's so cool.
I mean, that's really cool. Of course, there are things that go bump in the night sometimes, but that's the cool part of it. And what it all means, and is there a veil? And I think there's a veil.
Oh, definitely.
I think there's a veil, and I love to live there. Because what's more interesting?
So do you think if we all get up there next summer, this guy would like to come to the seance at Grumpy's?
Yeah, I said he was sad he missed us.
Oh.
He said, I can't believe I missed you. And so he'll come, for sure.
Because, Luann, a.k.a. Julia, would love for us to do that.
Yeah, I think that would be great.
She was awesome.
And the story about that ghost, I think we talked about it there, but if you haven't heard, there's this really cool old building that's a funky restaurant. You can rent rooms upstairs. It's called Grunke's First Street Inn. And the resident ghost, who we made contact with, is kind of mischievous. And what she will do is take one shoe from a guest.
We were wondering if we had all our shoes we left before we left.
And it's like a well-known thing. A guest will wake up and go, where the heck's my shoe? And slink on down to the front desk and say, you're not going to believe this, but, and then the whole staff was like, okay, she's at it again.
Okay,
everybody look at the shoe. And they'll find the shoe.
Yeah.
But it's a thing. And then, this grandson said, oh yeah, that's just the kind of thing she did. So,
I love it.
it's kind of fun.
That whole town was just, it was such a fabulous trip. I can't wait to go back.
It's wonderful.
It was just cool as all get out,
Well, and it was fun too to have these books that
Yeah.
give us this paranormal spin, up there, and then have our own paranormal experiences while we were there. It just all kind of fit together.
Oh, yeah.
It was pretty cool.
Well, yeah, and we had that sailor come in too from the ships.
That's right.
He came into the seance. He was kind of a dark kind of guy who would, be on boats that he wasn't supposed to be on. A stowaway kind of thing. Remember?
He was running through them.
From the log. He would do.
Yeah, and then hide out on boats and go to different places.
It was cool. We got a lot.
And that's just inspiring too. I forgot a little bit about that. I'm gonna have to put that in the
Mental notes.
put that in the hopper.
There you go. There you go.
Absolutely. All right, so Cryptovania wants to know, have orbs ever made it into your stories?
Orbs have not made it into my stories, but it's funny you mentioned orbs because an author friend sent me a link to her ring camera video, and she said, "What's this? What are these?" And they were orbs. And so I've just been having a discussion about orbs. That's another in the hopper. I really should. So can you guys tell a little bit about orbs and what they are and how, why they're there? And
I have my own ideas about them. I think orbs have to, an orb on its own, for me, I say no.
Right.
Because an orb can be dust, it can be a light
Moisture.
anomaly, it can be some kind of moisture, it can be anything else besides the spirit.
Yes.
So my first inclination is not to go, oh my gosh, it's a spirit.
Right.
Especially because digital noise,
It's
and
everywhere.
it's, so
Yeah.
you have light sources, it could be behind the camera, and I don't understand cameras enough to know how it works, but I know it does happen. So there could be a street light down the road, it's at nighttime, and
Looks like a
somehow,
cord on your picture.
Somehow
it's not even
it-
in the view
Yeah.
of the camera, but it's
Yeah.
sending. So I'm really hesitant to say orbs are anything.
Mhm.
However, if it's layered with other happenings,
Right.
then I'm interested. At
Yeah.
least I want to take a look at it.
Like what
because-
other kind of happenings?
Well, let's say you hear a noise that
Yeah.
is unexplained.
Yeah.
You know, like let's say we're doing an investigation. We're sitting at a table like this. You know, we've done investigations,
Yeah.
right? Where you sit at a table
Yeah.
and you're talking, or let's see if anybody's here, and we just were quiet, and you hear a knock on the table,
Mm-hmm.
and nobody moved, right?
Mhm.
And you think, okay, well, I don't know, maybe the wood,
Mhm.
expanded or contracted, whatever, because of the heat or whatever. And someone is like, they hear the knock, so they take a picture, and at the same time, you get the smell of like a rose water
Right.
perfume, and you go, okay, we're hearing a noise, we're smelling
Hearing
something,
something.
and someone takes a picture, and there's an orb
Yeah.
at the same time.
Okay.
Now
Makes
I'm
sense.
interested because you have layers of evidence
Mm-hmm.
that make it more compelling that it's something else
Absolutely.
than
Not
just a light
things.
anomaly
Yeah.
or a bug or whatever.
But in the same token, we see orbs in Bigfoot research, for example. We see orbs indicating Bigfoot is close by.
Okay, but that's different.
That's a different, but there's also an orb, right? So
That's like when you see it with your
yes.
eyes.
Oh yeah.
So
Yeah,
that's
see
the
with
difference.
our
See with
eyes.
your eye?
Right,
Oh,
that's
yeah,
the difference.
That's cool. Yeah, and different
That's the
colors.
difference.
Different colors.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've seen it.
We
You've seen
saw-
it with me.
We were in the woods and we saw
Yes.
it, and it was moving. It had to go around the trees.
Yes.
So it had intelligence, and it was glowing its own light because we were in the middle of.
Oh,
Yeah,
woods.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Oh yeah, and we see that quite often when we're out at night.
So that's different though than an
Yeah.
orb you'd see in a photo
Oh,
that you can't see
absolutely.
with your eyes
Oh,
otherwise.
absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
Totally different.
That's
Totally
totally
different. But yeah. No, you need to throw a big button on your list.
I think so.
I
I'll
mean,
have to talk to you about
Wendy.
that.
I'm not going to do
Yeah,
that.
or Dogman or something, and maybe more scary ones.
That would be fun. See, this is how I do my research.
Yes.
I'm kind of a lazy writer in terms of research, but I just come here and I talk to these ladies, and then I get ideas.
Mhm. Yeah. The orb that you see with your eyes as you're like, that's totally different
That's
than
totally different.
like the
than
ring
just
camera
orbs.
orbs, whatever.
I've never seen an orb.
Oh yeah. It's cool.
I'll start looking for orbs.
Yeah. It's cool when you do.
It is really cool.
Yeah.
It kind of
We
freaks
saw
you
a lot
out.
of them that day.
Yeah,
That
we
night when we were out. Yeah.
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 We didn't see Bigfoot. That's what we were out
We
to
didn't
see.
see
But
Bigfoot.
we
So
saw.
we felt like we
those
were there.
orbs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, then we,
And
we
that
all
could have
say that's
been a
indicative
version
of
of
them.
that could have been a version of Bigfoot. I mean, who knows? It could turn into an orb and then disappear, and that's how they manifest here. I mean, who knows?
We
So,
don't. We don't. Yeah,
But-
right, yeah.
it was cool. It was cool because it was navigating around the trees.
See, that's like a
So-
telltale sign for
Yeah.
me. There's no other explanation.
No.
Right. If it was just, we're, hallucinating because we're tired, it's 2:00 in the morning, we're in a swamp,
Yeah.
and it's
Yeah.
going through the trees
Yeah.
or whatever, like, I'm like, I don't know, maybe I'm just tired. But it was glowing and moving
Mhm.
around trees to
Mhm.
get through the woods. So that shows intelligence. It shows that there's got to be some kind of form to it. Otherwise, why wouldn't it just keep going straight and follow
Right.
everything?
Yeah, I love that term intelligence
Mhm.
because it's not just randomly
Yeah.
floating.
Right. Yeah.
Like a dust orb.
Like a dust orb. Yeah.
Mhm.
Explainable.
Yeah, that's cool. Well, that's something to think about for
Oh yeah.
future books, maybe.
Maybe we'll take you out in the woods with us so you can experience it.
I would like to do that.
Yeah.
They're always taking me
Yeah.
to places.
Well, cryptid checks in the woods and we'll show you.
Yeah, good stuff.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh my
All
gosh.
right, let's see. Is there anything else here?
Um.
Birdman would be a good
Yeah,
character.
Birdman. And of course orbs are radical. I mean, we could talk about that for a long time.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, so no, I think this has been super fun, and it's almost been an hour. So I think, wow, our visits with you just go by so
They go
fast.
by
I
so
just happened to
fast.
look at the clock, and I know.
Oh my goodness sakes.
I know. And you know what, everyone, we're live on YouTube. So here's what I'll say: please subscribe to our YouTube channel, and it's the Gathering ParaCast on YouTube. So we are live in a whole bunch of different places.
Yeah.
Tonight.
So check us out because we're on Cryptovania TV.
Yep.
Facebook on our ParaChat, Gathering ParaChat page.
Yep.
And the YouTube channel.
Yep.
Which is just go to YouTube and look up the Gathering ParaCast.
Yeah.
And
And
you'll
I
see us.
think we're live on Cryptovania too. Jason, can you confirm? Are we on Cryptovania tonight too?
Yes, ma'am. Yes,
Yeah.
ma'am, we are. Yeah.
Awesome.
So we're
Lots of places to find us.
Yep.
Yeah.
And yeah, we'd love to have you subscribe to our page and share it with people if you think that they'd be interested in this. And here's another thing. If you have a topic you want us to cover,
Oh, let us know.
let us know. Get a hold of us through our Facebook page or our YouTube page,
Mm-hmm.
and let us know because we could we could add it to our paranormal smorgasbord. We could do a whole show about it.
Yeah.
We could find a guest to join us. I mean, there's all sorts of fun stuff. So
Absolutely.
we'd love to hear from you as well. So speaking of hearing from, how can people find you?
Yes.
You can find me on Instagram at Wendy Webb Author, Facebook Wendy Webb Author. I've also have a personal page. I think, what is it? I don't even know. Wendy K. Webb. I don't know what my personal page
Oh, I don't
is.
know either.
You see my face, you'll know. Or you can go to my website at wendykWebb.com.
That's two B's.
Yeah.
2 B's. Can I plug witches?
Yes.
Absolutely. Yes, please do.
Okay, so here's my shameless plug for
Mhm.
my new book, Witches of Santo Stefano.
Yeah.
It is so close to my heart. It's such a fun book, you
It
guys.
is. It is.
It was inspired by a trip I took to Italy. I have a friend who called me and said, "Hey, Wen, I just bought a house in a 900-year-old Italian village. Why don't you go over there?"
Yeah.
And I went, "Oh, okay." And the whole story is about a woman from this little town, Bayfield, Warden, and she suspects that she has been descended from a long line of Italian witches. And so it's a story much like Daughters of the Lake, didn't you think?
Yeah.
Told in the present tense
Yes.
about this woman's quest to find out who she is and who her ancestors were. And simultaneously, we learn about these wonderful women who I want to continue telling their stories. I loved them so much.
I did too.
And there are generations of witches who lived in Italy. And it's not too scary, it's dreamy. There's some great animals in it. I always put animals in my books.
absolutely.
Giuseppe, I still I love him.
Giuseppe, when he
So
passed
sweet.
away, I was with you there.
Don't
Okay, whatever.
He's a donkey, a
Bless
very patient donkey.
Wonderful.
Yeah, and it was just a lot of fun to write. There are recipes in there too. And I've been asked, you should put recipes in the back of your book. I forget every single time. So I'm going to try to do that with this next one.
Well, you know what you could do is just write a cookbook
You could.
of all the recipes.
You could. Yeah, like that stew.
That's a really good
like
idea.
that stew
Yeah.
that gal made in the book,
Just
and it was
make
with
the book.
Swiss cheese and all that good stuff.
Recipes,
Oh my
wonderful.
gosh.
You know what my publisher does is they release like novellas.
Mm-hmm.
I could
You could.
do that.
Mm-hmm.
Like
all the
30
recipes
all
from
the
your book.
recipes.
Yeah. Yeah. I would love it. I'll buy it.
I'm calling my agent right
Yeah.
away.
I've got another book in the hopper.
Another book in the hopper.
You're welcome. I would buy it.
Me too.
Mm-hmm.
Me too.
That's
Yeah, they're all
basically
real
what I want you
recipes.
to
They're
write.
all
So I
like
can buy it.
recipes I make in my kitchen. So hopefully I'll be back in my kitchen soon.
Soon. Yeah.
Yeah, good.
Well,
That's exciting.
awesome. Well, Wendy, thank you.
Thank you so much
Thank
for being here with us.
you. I'm so honored to be your first
Oh my
guest on
gosh.
your new show.
Yes, yes, yes. We are honored
Have
that
me
you're
back.
here.
I love now, this talk show and being on the radio.
That's right.
That's fun.
It's
Oh
so
my
much
gosh.
fun.
But yeah, so anyway, join us next week. Thank you for watching
Thank you.
tonight. And if there's any troops that are watching, I know we have some that used to listen to our show, so I'm not sure if they're watching or not. But thank you for your service, and please be safe wherever you are.
Yes, this is a
Crazy time.
big world. Things happening. And everybody out there, thanks for tuning in this week. And if you can't make our live show, we've got recordings, and we've now started doing the audio recording
Yes,
as well.
So it's on our regular Podbean.
Yep.
And also it's on the Cryptovania Spotify account, correct, Jason? Can they find it at Cryptovania?
Yes, it is.
Yeah. So we're on there as well. So you can find us in a lot of different places in a lot of different ways.
Yep.
So
So thank you everybody for tuning in, and we'll be back next week. Actually, we'll be back the next few weeks because we've got the holidays coming up, and we're going to do little shows for the holidays too.
super fun. So and a special thanks to Jason.
Thank you.
He's put in a lot of hours getting all this stuff ready.
Yes. Thank you, Jason, so much. And for
Yes.
TV, thank you.
Yes,
You.
for
And
sure.
we'll be excited to meet you back next week.
Awesome.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.
We'll finish with
Oh, hey, hello, there we go. Hey, thank you.
there is we'll finish with a quick slideshow and then we will end
Yeah.
out.
Oh, awesome. There you go. That's my favorite.
All right.
Hey, that was great.
Hey.